We've all been there. You've just spent 5 minutes describing the jagged peaks of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains, the ancient whispering woods of Whisperwood, or the shimmering salt-scoured flats. You've set a scene of epic scale, of real danger, and then you say the words that kill mood instantly. You travel for 3 days without incident. You can almost feel the air go out of the room. You watch your players' eyes glaze over as they mentally check out. That vast, dangerous wilderness you just described, it's been demoted to a loading screen, a boring, fast travel sequence between the actual points of interest. All those choices they made, like packing extra rations, buying that grappling hook, picking a specific route, suddenly feel completely pointless. But what if that was a huge wasted opportunity? What if with one simple procedure you could turn every single day of travel into a tense, engaging game of survival? A game where getting there is a challenge, your resources are a lifeline, and every decision to push on or make camp has real tangible weight. Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take your wilderness from a boring montage and turn it into a living, breathing adversary. The core problem with just saying you travel for a few days is that it robs player choice of its meaning. Why should a player care about how much they're carrying if it never actually slows them down? Why bother hiring a guide if getting lost has zero consequences? Why would they agonize over bringing more rope or more food if resources are never really scarce? When you hand-wave travel, you're telling your players without meaning to that the journey doesn't matter, only the destination does. This kills any sense of tension or exploration. The world shrinks. That massive continent you mapped out suddenly feels like a small collection of rooms connected by hallways. It completely undercuts the whole idea of a hex crawl or a sandbox game where exploring is the game. This isn't about punishing your players with boring bookkeeping. It's about making their choices, the smart ones and the reckless ones, actually matter. It's about creating a world where survival is earned, not just assumed, and where reaching the dungeon is a victory in itself. Now, before we get into the solution, if you've ever felt that frustration of a bored party during a travel scene, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really lets me know we're on the right track, and if you're new here, think about subscribing for more tips on how to make your games as awesome as they deserve to be. The solution I'm talking about isn't some complex new system you have to bolt onto your game. It's an old idea, refined and made elegant, pulled straight from the foundations of the hobby and basic expert D&D. The secret is to stop thinking of travel as a montage and start thinking of it as a series of turns, just like you do in combat. We're going to use the term wilderness turn. A wilderness turn is simple. One day of travel is one turn in the game. And during that turn, a clear, repeatable sequence of events happens. This structure takes the big challenges of survival, navigation, resource management, surprise encounters, and the risks of making a camp, and boils them all down to a quick, easy-to-run procedure. This isn't about simulating every single footstep or counting every calorie. It's an abstraction. It's a game mechanic designed to create tension, force hard decisions, and make the world feel unpredictable and dangerous. By using this daily procedure, you create a rhythm for exploration that's easy for you to run as a GM and full of meaningful choices for your players. This simple procedure rests on 4 equally important pillars. When they work together, they create this awesome feedback loop where every decision the players makes has a ripple effect. First, the players have to decide where they're going. They tell you their intended direction for the day. Then you make a secret roll to see if they get lost. In a classic BX style game, this is often as simple as a 1 or a 2 on a D6. If they get lost, they veer off in a random direction, wasting a precious day and ending up somewhere they didn't mean to go. Why does this matter? Because it makes the world feel unknown and wild. It turns maps from perfect GPS systems into precious, hard-won treasures. It makes the player with the high survival skill or the one who thinks to hire a guide a total hero. Suddenly, paying attention to landmarks, scouting ahead, or deciding to follow a road becomes a critical tactical choice, not just flavor. Following a road might be faster, sure, but it also makes you a much more predictable target. The second pillar is drain. Every day of travel costs something. On a basic level, each character eats 1 ration and drinks 1 water skin. But it's also about spells getting used, torches being burned, and arrows being shot. This is where that little bit of bookkeeping becomes a source of tension, not just tedium. Even more importantly, drain is about encumbrance. Old school D&D has clear rules for how much you can carry and how it slows you down. If you're unencumbered, maybe you can cross 2 6-mile hexes of forest in a day. But if you're weighed down with armor, gear, and all the treasure you just looted, you might only manage 1. This creates a fantastic trade-off. Do you travel light and fast, but risk running out of food or being unprepared? Or do you travel slow and steady, loaded with gear but exposing yourself to more dangers because you're in the wild for longer? This ties directly into the game's core loop, especially in OSR games where most of your XP comes from hauling treasure safely back to town. The Drain pillar makes that trip home a desperate, challenging adventure all on its own. The third pillar is how we handle monsters. Instead of just rolling for a random encounter every few hours, we roll one per day for an encounter signal. This is usually a 1 on a d6. A signal doesn't automatically mean you're in a fight. It just means something is nearby. It's a blip on the radar. Once you get a signal, you go through a little sequence. First, check for surprise to see who spots who first. Then, figure out the distance. Is that thing 200 yards away across a ravine, or is it suddenly right in your face? And finally, and this is the most important part, roll for the creature's reaction. Are they hostile, or are they just curious? Are they trying to run away? This is a total game changer. It transforms wandering monsters from random sacks of hit points into a living part of the world. An encounter might be seeing a dragon flying high overhead, finding the fresh tracks of an owlbear, or hearing the horns of a goblin patrol in the distance. This gives your players information and choices. Do they hide or set an ambush or try to sneak around the threat? Because in a lot of these games, fighting is the last thing you want to do. The goal is to avoid pointless fights and get the treasure home. Finally, after a long day of navigating, managing supplies, and dodging threats, the party has to rest. But the danger isn't over yet. Pillar 4 is Camp Risk. Making camp is its own little turn in the game. When the party stops for the night, you make another encounter roll. A campsite is a stationary target, and the longer the party rests, the more likely they are to attract some unwanted attention. This makes players think hard about where they camp. A hidden defensible spot is way better than the middle of an open field. This is also where simple, cheap gear becomes priceless. In BX, just having a bedroll could be the difference between a good night's rest and waking up with penalties the next day from exposure. It's cheap insurance against the wild. Camp Risk makes sure the day doesn't really end when the players stop moving, but only when they've actually survived the night. So let's put this all together. Imagine your players are in a forest hex and they want to go 1 hex north. First, navigation, they declare their goal. I, as the GM, secretly roll a d6. It's a 4, great. They're on track and successfully moving in the northern hex. Second, drain. They decide to travel at a normal pace, so at the end of the day they'll each mark off 1 ration. Simple. Third, encounter signal. I roll a d6 for the day's travel. It's a 1. An encounter is signaled. I roll on my forest table and get a pack of wolves. I roll for distance, they're 100 yards away, and the players spot them first. The wolves haven't noticed them yet. Now, the players have a real choice. Try to sneak past or set up an ambush, or maybe just try to scare them off. Let's say they manage to sneak by. Now it's nighttime. Fourth, camp risk. They find a small sheltered cave to make camp. Because it's a good spot, I might give them a bonus on their nightly encounter roll. I roll the d6. It's a 5. Nothing happens. They're safe for the night. They can rest, get their spells back, and get ready for the next day's turn. See, in a few quick rolls, we had a moment of navigational success, a tense encounter that was solved with player choice instead of just combat, resource drain, and a strategic decision about where to camp. The day mattered. This procedure, this whole wilderness turn idea, is more than just a set of rules. It's a philosophy. It's the key to unlocking the potential of all those vast, untamed parts of your map. It takes travel from a passive cutscene and turns it into an active, engaging part of the game where player choices have immediate and lasting consequences. By focusing on navigation, drain, encounter signals, and camp risk, you create a simple, repeatable loop that generates amazing stories of survival, desperation, and triumph all on its own. Your players will start thinking like actual explorers, weighing risk and reward, and they'll celebrate reaching a town or a keep as the major accomplishment it truly is. So the next time your players are heading into the wild, don't just wave your hand and say, you arrived 3 days later. Instead, look them in the eye and say, all right, it's day 1 of your journey, what are you doing? And just watch as their eyes light up, not with boredom, but with the tense excitement of a game that has just begun. I've put together a simple 2-page PDF of a wilderness travel turn sheet based on these principles. You can download it for free from the link in the description. It's the perfect little tool to have behind your screen to start running travel this way in your very next game. What are your favorite ways to make travel interesting? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and go run a great game.